Hey, welcome back to the stream. We have Dylan Babs once again showing us some awesome CSS and JavaScript kind of user experience and design. So this is your third stream, right? Right, Dylan? You're a regular?
Yeah, third time. Yep, I'm a regular by now, it seems like.
Yeah. So I mean, the last few times what we saw is we saw like animations with collapsible containers, and we saw animations with modules or modals. This time around,
Modals, yeah.
what's the hot topic this time around?
Today we'll be doing skeleton loading screens. So skeleton loading screens are a relatively new thing. I think they started popping up on the web and mobile about maybe a year and a half ago. And instead of a typical loading spinner or loading progress bar, what you now see is a skeleton of the UI that's going to pop up once the data from the network has now been received. So I'll go ahead and show you some of these
Yeah,
examples about exactly what I'm
let me
talking
switch
about.
over to your desktop. There we go. And for logistical reasons, um, sorry, we are live. So if you want to engage with us in the chat, ask some questions, definitely, we're here to help. We want to show you something awesome. So we're looking at your screen, Dylan.
Cool. I'm just pulling up some examples. So here we have, for example, like Facebook in the news feed, when you have some post loading, instead of just a blank screen with maybe a traditional spinner, you actually see an outline of this UI component that be popping up with the post information.
Yep.
So here we go. We have some in LinkedIn. And so you see these all over both the desktop and the web. And the science behind this, when the UX researchers were taking a look at this, apparently humans perceive that information is being loaded quicker when you have a sort of skeleton frame available as opposed to another loading spinner or something. So even though the data obviously from the network is going to be received at the same speed, no matter what type of loading component you're using, apparently with users, this actually works better and it makes it feel like a smoother and faster experience. So if you're looking for some opportunities to improve your user experience and your application, really take some things to the next notch in quality, I really recommend skeleton loading screens for that type of opportunity. And then, so those are some screenshots. We could take a look. If we go to YouTube, for example, you can see they have some simple loading screens as well. With YouTube, there's no flashing in them. You just have these static boxes and such. But today we'll be implementing something that actually has a nice little shine or shimmer in it as well.
Sweet. And all of the circles and boxes, I assume those are actual CSS and not images, right?
Yeah, correct. Those are all divs that we'll be styling with CSS.
Got it.
So today we could do this in either vanilla JavaScript or React. It's really up to you what you want to do, Nick.
Let's keep the trend of doing React, unless you say
Cool.
otherwise.
Yeah, I don't mind. It really works either. I guess React is very popular and people sometimes go with React for their first choice
It,
in really building anything, even if it's something simple as
yeah, I don't.
just a one-page application.
When it comes to actual user experience, I don't see a whole lot of just vanilla JavaScript anymore. Nothing against it. It's just I just don't see a whole lot anymore. It's usually framework driven.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and make a new create React app.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And even though we're doing this in React, all this stuff is going to be completely CSS and HTML based. So if you are using another framework or just using vanilla JavaScript, this stuff will work mostly just fine. You'll be using the same CSS and properties there. You just may have to do a little bit differently when it comes to adding the class names and such in React. I'm sorry, or in whatever you're using.
Got it.
So while this is loading, let me go ahead and pull up a code pen.
All right.
So we'll be using this today as pretty much our guidelines on how to do this. So this is a nice code pen I found from a guy named Kian Lavi. I believe he works at Facebook. So he published this actually. It was a nice guideline for creating these.
You think that's the actual one that they're using for Facebook?
It might be. It might not be. I mean, it's relatively simple. So it's not like we're really taking anything that valuable here.
Now,
but it could be.
when I see these skeleton loading screens on like YouTube and stuff, generally, if I recall correctly, they're always the full dimensions of the viewport. Is that correct? Do people normally do it that way?
Not necessarily.
All right.
I think what people use to outline the size of the content that they're going to be showing. So if we go back to this blog post I had pulled up,
Yeah.
let's take a look at LinkedIn right here. This is the classic LinkedIn newsfeed.
Yeah.
And so the skeletons that we have here are the profile image,
Yeah.
the person's name, maybe their headline, and then the body text.
Sure, but you notice how each of those cards, there's like, do you think they do a fixed number so that way it just flows off to a certain amount, or do they, uh, what is there, four there, three or four? Do you think they just fill up the viewport?
Most likely, I think for these vertical posts are a little bit tough because
Sure.
you don't know how high
Yeah.
the height will be. But if you go back to YouTube, for example, you'll see the intro is just this grid view.
Yeah.
And so all you have to do is just do the side of these videos. Sorry, the size of these videos,
Sure.
because you know these videos are always going to be the same size whenever you
Yeah,
load the
definitely.
page. Whereas, for example, yeah, this post might be a little longer. So yeah, if you're
Got it.
doing these vertical stack things, it might be a little tough. All right, nice. So we have our Create React app up and running. So let's go into this, open up in code, and then yarn start.
Was there a reason why you're using Yarn over npm?
Not really.
No. All right.
I know some people have some big differences in opinions on NPM versus yarn, but for me, just Create React app told me to start using it, so I said, why not? What?
Well, I mean, it's Facebook with Facebook, I assume that it would play nicer together, right?
You'd assume so, but I've never had any problems switching between NPM and yarn, so I don't know. I'm not necessarily the best person to ask about this.
All right.
When the audience has any ideas, go ahead and let us know.
Yep, definitely.
So we have the classic rotating atom right here. And I'll go ahead and just get rid of this stuff. And then I'm going to set up some card elements. So how about we do a 3x2 grid of
Sure.
maybe just some like, they could be almost like business card type of cards where you have like a profile image, or sorry, a header image, a title, a subtitle, then some text. So before we get into the fun stuff of the shimmering, let's just go ahead and get that stuff out of the way. So we'll go into our app.css, get rid of all this stuff. Let's do the width, maybe 600 pixels. And then we'll want to maybe put a margin of 20 pixels on the top and the bottom. And then we want to center this container in the middle of the screen. Just to make sure that's all working right, we'll just do a green background for now.
Sure.
I'll put some content there. Nice. Okay, that's working well. And then let's go ahead and create a component called card. So we'll just do card.js, and then we'll also do card.scss because I like Sass. And since we're doing Sass, we also have to add in Node Sass.
So you're just throwing your components directly in the source directory.
Yeah, we're doing something simple here, so figure them out as well.
All right.
There's no need to make a fancy folder structure.
Got it.
And then for those of you who have missed the previous episodes, same thing we're doing as before with SCSS, just adding node-sass so we can now read and then compile the SCSS files. So import React, and then we'll import our style file as well, card.scss. And then we will make a stateless component. And set that as its default export. And we'll make the cards, say, 200 pixels tall. We can maybe change that later. And then let's go ahead and render maybe 6 of these cards. So instead of doing a fancy map or something like that, I'll just go ahead and paste them.
Yeah.
Nice, 6 of them. And we cannot forget to import the component as well. And then I want to do it in the 3x2 grid. So let's enlist the help of CSS grid to do that. So inside of our app class, we'll do display grid. And then we'll do grid dash template dash columns of 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. So basically that means we want 3 columns of equal width lengths. So 1FR is basically just a unit for, I don't even know the best way to describe it, just one equal length compared to the others. So we did 1FR, 2FR, 1FR. We basically have 1FR would be 25% of the width, 2FR would be 50% of the width, and 1FR would be 25% of the width.
This is the first time that I've seen this before. This doesn't have anything to do with flexboxes and things like that?
No, so display grid, so CSS grid is slightly different than Flexbox. There are 2 great ways of laying things out. The grid is a little bit more helpful when you have a lot of items and you want things to be a little bit more constant. Obviously, you can achieve the same effects with display flex, but I think for something like this where we want to define 3x2 grid, it's a little bit easier to use CSS grid in this situation.
Sure.
And then what's nice about grid is you could actually set some padding in between the grid. So when I say padding, I don't mean the exact CSS padding. I mean more just spacing in between the grid parts. So to do that, we could do grid dash gap, and then we'll do maybe 20 pixels. Oh, and then let's also add a border to our card so we can make sure we see them.
Just gonna adjust the window just a little bit because I didn't size it correctly. You're good on your end though.
Cool. Now I'm just adjusting some basic CSS.
There we go.
Let me make this 300. Nice. So now we have some good old cards.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah. So using just a few lines of CSS, all we had to do was display grid, and then grid dash template dash columns 1FR, 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 and then setting the grid gap. We now have a 3x2 grid with some spacing in between. And so if I go and open up my developer console, you'll see that there's not actually any CSS padding in here.
Can you pull that console out just a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about good. Sorry, I was getting chopped off by our heads in the chat.
No worries. And this spacing is pretty nice because it doesn't interfere with any other padding or margin that you have. And then since you don't have to use margin on each of these individual cards, you don't have some weird spacing on the outside as well. So it's really nice when you're trying to make clean layouts.
Yeah.
Now that we have this layout set up, let's go ahead and just add some content into these cards and go ahead and style it a little bit more. So let's maybe just make the border radius for this 3 pixels. Always adding a border radius makes things look a little bit nicer. And then inside of the card, we are going to want to do, we'll want a banner image. We'll want a header. We'll want a subtitle. And then we'll want some paragraph content. So first, let's go ahead and do the banner image. So instead of using a image tag here, I'm going to go ahead and use a div. Sure. And then set the background with CSS background image. Or we might even just leave it as gray right now. And the reason I'm doing div instead of image is it's going to work a little bit. It's going to work a little bit better when we're doing the shimmer or shine effect.
Sure.
On this as well, because you can easily switch out the background properties.
And this is only effective if you're doing a fixed dimensions kind of containers, right? Like fixed, if the image that will eventually load on top of it, it kind of needs to be fixed dimensioned, right? To match
Not necessarily.
Of the card? No? All right.
It could be really any size you want. So for example, what we'll do in this situation is we'll go ahead and set it to 100% width and then 30% height.
Sure.
And here to my image class. So let's do width 100%, height 30%. And then I'll also just add some padding in here as well to make it look nice. And let's do a background. RGBA to 250, 250, 250, get a nice light gray. Maybe it's something a little bit darker, actually. So now we have it set to 30%, and you'll see that if I change this to 50%, obviously it'll grow larger to half the size of this. And then if I change the height of the card, it will actually shrink based on the parent height. So this doesn't have to be a fixed size image at all. This could be really, but I'll keep it at, let's say, 30 or 40% now. And then we'll go ahead and add our title. So H1, what should we call this thing? Nick Raboy.
Well, why would you include any text at all in this one? Generally, they don't have text, do they?
Well, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a normal component that has some text and stuff. And then we're going to show you how to add the shine effect and switch between. Because you don't want to design these cards just for the loading effect and then make something completely new for the actual content. One is that this strategy will save time because you use the same component.
Yeah.
And two, it's easier because you want to actually have the exact same shape on these skeleton screens as you do as your content. So if you're creating two different components, one of the loading and one of the actual content, it's going to take some time to actually go ahead and tweak everything for them to match exactly. You want the same height on everything. You want the same layout. So just using the same component will save you some time there and effort.
So then in the circumstance of React, why wouldn't we just pass in the information that would populate the card? Why are we just hard coding it for convenience and for this example? All right.
Yeah, we're just hard coding. Obviously, you would have some props up here that'd be like name, title, description, but it doesn't really matter right now what we're doing. We're just going to hard code it. But maybe we have some more time. We could show you how these layouts can change depending on the different data in them. This is a great show. Write that as that. And then for some paragraph text, we'll just do the normal lorem ipsum dolor. I don't know any more Latin to write or anything.
Beyond the first two words, I don't know anything either.
I don't know. It needs to be like some sort of famous song or poem that people start writing in these.
Really?
Blah, blah, blah. No, I'm saying there should be. That'd be kind of funny. Nice. So we have some pretty ugly content here so far. So let's go ahead and clean this up as well. Make the sizes a little bit different.
And it falls off the screen too, or it falls out of the card.
Because these default styles are a little bit too big. So let's make the font size for H1 maybe 24 pixels. We'll make the margin for that 10 pixels on the top and 0 on the left and the right. And then for H2, let's go ahead and make this font size 20 pixels, a margin of 10 pixels on the top and bottom. And you'll see that's also looking a little bit better.
Yeah, but that looks really good.
Go ahead and make the font weight a little bit different.
Of course, knowing that they're all the same text in all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, also a pretty cool trick that I learned on Twitter the other day I thought I'd share with you guys is the VS Code autosave. So if you go up into your file window, this is for Mac, I assume it's probably the same for Windows and such. You have this option here called autosave. And it's pretty nice because you no longer have to do the Command or Control S constantly when you're changing your files. All you do is you make an edit, and then depending on the setting that you have, you can either do on focus leave or on a timer for no more activity. VS Code will actually automatically save the file, and then when your file is saved automatically, obviously the build tool you're using or Create React app in my situation will actually go ahead and refresh the page as well. So the moment you make a change, you actually go and look at it in the browser without having to click save, which is kind of nice, I think. Nothing amazing, but
it's a little scary for me. I don't know. I'd forget which file I made an edit to, and it could be like half complete. It could cause more drama for me because I go based on the little circle that appears on the files in Visual Studio Code. It tells me that hey, I might not be done in that file.
Yeah, I've been doing this auto saving for probably like three or 4 days now. And I'd say it took about a day to get adjusted to it and having to tell myself not to save the file every single time. But I think it's been more convenient. It's nice when you make a change and then you maybe go to another window or something and then you go to your browser to check out what happened. Just the change will already be reflected without having to go for it to refresh automatically.
We got a comment saying that somebody's been using it for a couple weeks now.
Nice. Who's that?
It says MongoDB DevRel.
Cool.
Not sure who it is.
Is that you?
No, it's
giving
not
yourself some own comments?
It is Mike.
Nice, Mike. How you doing? It looks like you're our only guest on the stream right now.
No, we've got others. They're just I don't know. Twitch updates the numbers really weird. Like I've got one area on my end that shows that we have people, but I think it updates at weird frequencies.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's weird. I don't question it. It works out.
And then just because I like things to look nice, let's go ahead and just make this paragraph color something a little bit nicer. Just for the sake of having things look good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Make that a light gray. Oh, I did white instead of black. There we go. So now we got a beautiful little card right here. So imagine this could be some sort of Airbnb listing or something like that, where you have the image, the title, some information, and then we want to actually make these things look nice when they're loading.
Yeah.
So now comes into the good old shimmer and shine effect. So shimmer, shine, basically just two other synonyms for the skeleton effect.
I like the shimmer word.
So in order to get this going, what we'll need to do, you like shimmer?
Yeah.
And what should we call it? Or what should we call our class? Shimmer or shine? It's up to you.
I'm worried that I feel like I've seen other maybe JavaScript modules that share the name shimmer. Am I mistaken? Am I imagining things? Can you hear me? I think we're having some network problems. Hold on.
Well,
are you there?
I can hear you.
Oh, we just lost your video.
I'm there. Yeah, I heard you the whole time.
All right, hold on. I think I'm having some network problems.
Oh no. How about now?
Hello? Hey, you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just sending a message to family saying to please exit the internet. Hold on, one second. We'll get there. You there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Hi. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, maybe we're back.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah?
Hello, I'm back.
Yes, I see you.
Can I begin?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the Onion article I saw earlier today, where it's like millennials caught up in an endless circuit of, no, you go ahead, I'm done, in Zoom calls. It's like 4 hours of, no, go ahead, you. No, you go ahead. Okay, anyway, back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
So you're saying that there might be some conflicts with the word shimmer?
Yeah. Am I mistaken? Am I imagining this?
I mean, you might not be imagining it, but I haven't heard of any libraries that use that. Well, anyway, we're not using any libraries in this application anyway. So we're not going to have any, we're not using any CSS modules or libraries that are going to have any name conflicts.
So let's call it shimmer.
With the word shimmer anyway. Cool, let's do shimmer. So we're going to need to have basically two colors. So if we look at this, I don't know what the frame rate is on Twitch, but there's actually this nice little kind of shine effect going from the left to the animation.
We're at,
so we need two colors.
We're at 30 frames a second.
One is going to be, cool. One is going to be the background color, and then one is going to be the darker shine color that's moving across the screen. And so in order to create this effect, we're going to need to use a linear gradient. And so it's basically going to be 3 stops of the light color, 1 stop of the dark color, and then 1 stop of the light color again. And so that will create this nice blend of light for a little bit and then light again.
All right.
So we'll do, we're going to do two CSS variables right here.
Sure.
Main background. I'll just go ahead and steal this color from the effect. And then we're going to want to do secondary background. And that will be EED1. And so we're going to set a background of main background. And that's just going to be kind of like a catch-all of anything else that doesn't fall in this linear gradient that we're going to be doing.
Yep.
And then we're also going to be doing a background image of a linear gradient. So the reason we have a background and then a background image is that we're going to have this background image moving across the screen. So at any point that this background image is not completely covering the full height and width of the div, we want to have this main background color to cover that, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
So we're going to want to do a linear gradient to right. So it's going to be that the colors that we type first are going to be on the left side. And then the more colors that we type, they're going to be showing up on the right side horizontally on the x-axis. So I want to do main background. And we'll do 0%. Main background, we'll do 20%. Let's see what else. Main background 40%, and then let's see, it was main background 100%. So I'm gonna have to add in the secondary background in here. They're doing it at 20%. Secondary background. Nice. So we're creating this class, and whenever we want to load the shimmer on, not load the shimmer, we want to put the shimmer on when the network is loading.
Yeah.
We're going to basically just add this class to the HTML element. It's going to be pretty straightforward. So for image, we'll do class shimmer. Just add in shimmer in there. Same thing for H1, class shimmer.
You're going all in. You're not even starting small on this one.
Might as well see it on the whole screen. Oh, sorry, on everything. And so now you see we have pretty much the basis for this. Yeah. Obviously, it's not looking nice at all, but you see that aside from the image up top,
yeah,
have the right colors here. The reason it's not working on the image right now is because the image already has, you remember, a background color that we specified. So this is not overriding it. So I know this isn't the best way to do this, but in order to set precedence for the style, make it important and priority, we're just going to throw in the exclamation important to background and background image. So if you're not familiar with the exclamation mark importance, what this does is basically says, no matter the specificity, that's a tough one, or no matter what order you have these classes, whenever you write important, this is going to be the most important property that's going to be applied to the class.
I'm surprised you have to do that, because if the background RGB is on the actual DOM element itself, and you're adding a shimmer class, I thought the shimmer class was supposed to take preference. No?
So we have two classes here right now. So remember that this image is not an image, it's a div with the class image.
I misread it. I was looking at the image name, and I thought that was just with no period and no hashed symbol. I misread it.
Yeah, no, it's a little confusing the way that I'm doing this, the dot image. But now if we go to important, you'll see that we actually have this small little effect. So it may not be that easy to see inside of Twitch, but we have the light color, a darker color, and then light all the way around. So it goes 0, 20, 40, 60, 80.
I actually cannot see it. Well, when you're zoomed out, I can see it, but when you're zoomed in, I can't. I mean, my eyes are no
Well, just in
good.
case no one else can do it, no one else can see it, let's just go ahead and throw an absolutely outrageous color
Yeah,
on here. Uh,
there you go.
so you'll see this is the shape of, excuse me, of this shimmer, but it's going to be a much lighter gray rather than this blue.
Sure.
So I'll go ahead and change that back. And yeah, it'll be much more visible when you start making it move. But the first thing I want to do now is actually get rid of this text, because obviously you don't want to show any text here. This looks a little strange. And then also your text is not even going to be available when you're loading it. So to do that, all we have to do is just do a color of just RGBA 0000. So usually in this situation, I would use transparent, but I recently have been finding out that transparent, that keyword in Safari, is not working out too well. So if anybody in the audience knows any tips about that, that'd be nice to hear. But instead, we could just do RGBA 00000, and then of course we need to do the importance.
So why are you? Because zero transparency, there's it's going to be invisible, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We want to make the text invisible,
All right.
not the
Got it.
background. Because you'll see if I don't do this
Yeah.
effect, we now have text
Got it.
here, and we don't want to show any text. So that's looking good so far. But now you'll notice that all these kind of shimmer effects are going 100% width. And that doesn't really look that natural, because obviously not everything is exactly one sentence that goes from the start to the end of the component. Things kind of end whenever they naturally end. So to do that, we will change the display to inline dash block. And now you'll see that the widths now end where they naturally should for the text.
Yes.
And so for those of you who are a little bit unfamiliar with inline block, and inline, block is basically things that will stretch 100% full width, and then any subsequent items will go to the next line. Inline is things that will only stretch to width auto, and any subsequent items will be on the same screen. I'm sorry, the same row. So think of like spans; those are all inline by default. So just kind of words flying up the screen. And then inline block is a combination of the two, where inline block will now have width auto, so things will not stretch to 100% width of the screen. Will be on the next line.
So
that's why we're using inline block here, because we don't want things 100% of the width, but we don't want things to be all on the same line.
So just to confirm a few things, to clear the air here, if you go back into the browser, the reason why we had text in there at all, we're doing that not to actually show it like one for one of what our text would look like, because it's going to be dynamic, but it's just so that way we can configure it so that way it looks close, right? As far as heights?
Correct. Yeah. So the next question you might have is, you're starting with some text here, and then you're setting basically the width of these to text. But the problem with that is, if you're using these as your loading screens before your data has arrived, you're not going to have any text to display. So in theory, your width should all be 0. That's very true. But right now I'm just using text right here now just to basically create a nice frame to see how they will look. And then later on, what I end up doing is sometimes setting the widths of these to maybe a random number between 30 and 60%. So then you'll actually have these widths look like they're somewhat natural in length.
Now let me ask you this then, since this is a new topic for me. If we're including text in there, is that going to hurt or help our SEO? Because do we know what the web crawlers are going to pick up? Are they going to pick up the placeholder text that we have in there, or are they going to pick up what we have after it loads? Or can we do any kind of like black hat kind of tricks to do SEO with this?
That's a good question. SEO, I'm not honestly too skilled in. I know recently Google, I heard an announcement saying they're now scraping data from client-side loaded sites. So in theory, they should be waiting for your data to arrive, and so they should be scraping it. But I would really ask that to a better SEO expert.
I'm wondering if the crawler, knows that there's an ongoing request and waits, or if it already detects that there's text and chooses that and assumes that it's already loaded. I don't know how they work. I guess it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm sure that Google probably spent some significant
Yeah.
time doing this, so I'm sure they work pretty well and they could determine when the data has been loaded or not. But that's also another good question to ask an SEO expert. I'm sure people know exactly the answer to this question because a lot of people built their careers on SEO
Oh yeah,
enhancement and
definitely.
optimization. Yeah, but like I was saying, we're only doing the text right
Yep.
here because we'll be showing an easy way to switch between loaded and non-loaded states. So I want to show some text. And then adding the text in the beginning also now makes it have this more natural shape. But later on, the better way to implement this is to have these with no text at all, or you just some alt text for accessibility reasons that would say loading or something
Got
like
it.
that. So now let's make this shimmer actually, because this looks nice as the skeleton loading screen already. This is a pretty basic version of just having these static
Yeah. I think if it was static
boxes.
though, I don't know if I'd want to have the gradient in there. I think I'd just leave it completely flat if I wasn't animating it.
Yeah, let's take a look at how that looks anyway without the gradient.
Yeah, could be a preference of mine.
Yeah, without the gradient. I mean, I was noticing the YouTube one, they don't do any animation and
Yeah.
there's just static, there's no gradient. But if you want to do the animation, you obviously need the gradient
Yeah.
in there to have the thing move. Yeah, so to make this animation work, we'll pretty much be wanting to move this background image that we have, the gradient, just back and forth, back and forth. So there's a couple things we need to configure. One will be the background size and background repeat. I'm just
Sure.
going to go ahead and copy and paste this. We're basically setting the background size to something much larger than the actual div, and that will just make the effect look a little bit nicer. This is just pretty much a small tweak a small visual tweak in here to make it look a little bit nicer. And then we'll want to go ahead and set our animation. So we'll go ahead and just call this shimmer animation. We'll want to do an animation duration of 1 second. Want to do an animation fill mode of forwards. And then we'll want to do an animation iteration count of infinite. And what these basically do is animation name is going to be the keyframes that
Yep.
we're going to be linking this to. Animation duration is going to be how long the animation will last. Animation fill modes is, do we want this animation to end? So when we remove the animation, do we want it to end at the end of the animation or the beginning of the animation, if that makes any sense? So
Yep.
say, for example, if we're moving the animation from left to right, will the final state be ended at the right side or on the left side? So will it go back to 0 or will it end at 100, basically? And the animation iteration count will be infinite, basically meaning that we want to do this endlessly.
And
So
did we want to add like a delay so that way between iterations it does a pause, or do we just want it to keep going forever?
we can do a pause, but I think we'll just want
All right.
to instantly start off again. So we're doing at keyframes, shimmer dash animation, and then we want to do a to, and then a from. So basically, we're just going to be moving the background position, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy these. It's a little bit easier because this guy's really tweaked this to make it fit perfectly with some hard-coded values. So we're basically going from a negative position to a positive position here. Now, if we go back, let's take a look. We have something a little bit funky going on here. Oh yeah, then I think we also need position relative. And maybe an animation timing function of linear. So, okay, a little
Ooh,
bit
that's
funky.
fast.
Yeah, this is not the desired state, but this would not be a typical Dylan and Nick show without having some nice debugging going on.
Yep.
I mean, this is how we learn, right?
Yeah, I can't tell if it looks like it's lagging or if it's just going real
Ah,
fast.
I'm doing to from, and I think I might need to be doing to from to.
I don't think that'll just change the direction. It's not going to change the speed. It's going real fast.
Yeah, animation duration. Huh. Let me just go ahead and compare exactly what we should be doing here. Maybe we don't need a linear timing function. Animation duration count infinite. Animation fill mode forwards. Animation duration 1 second. Ah,
Um,
yeah, it is going crazy here.
is it?
Okay, so let's take a look at
Yeah.
what we have here. So we have the background image and the background which we had, right? Let me just put these two windows next to each other. Background size, we have the right background size.
Yes.
I have display in line block. Let me just order these so we can make sure we have everything properly. We have background repeat properly.
And we don't think React is doing something weird with it, right?
I don't think so, but sometimes it's the strange problems that keep.
Just for laughs, can you slow it down real quick? So that way maybe we can pinpoint what it's actually doing.
Yeah, I'll do 5 seconds for now.
Oh, that's long, but let's go ahead and try it.
So it looks like it's just yeah. There's some
It's I can't tell if it's
it's almost like
lagging
lag.
or
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like lagging.
um if you if you go to the network tab, is there anything weirdness going on?
No, because we're not requesting anything.
You never know.
And you also notice that the position of these is off.
Yeah.
You should all be aligned in the same area. So let's just go ahead and look at this one more time.
Which just makes me
So
wonder if React and how we're serving it with whatever React uses to serve is playing a part. However it's rendering these components. I mean, it shouldn't. In theory, it should be fine because it's just CSS. But do you have
maybe
another?
I'm going to change
Do you
from
have another
to.
browser?
Yeah, but before we do that, let's just make sure this actually thing is working properly. Let's just copy and paste the whole thing. The shine.
Just remember, it's called Shimmer versus Shine.
Yeah. Shimmer
You use the same
animation.
class names everywhere else.
Basically, I just took out all the content in the middle and
All
then
right.
pasted it inside. We don't have to change anything.
But I mean, placeholder shimmer is in there. I don't know if we called it placeholder shimmer.
I
It,
changed
look,
it already.
it looks like the shimmer looks a lot better though already, right?
Yes, I think we had some one strange.
It still doesn't seem right though. Something seems a little off about it compared to the CodePen example.
Well, so now we're going to remove the text,
Yeah. So
and
now,
then now it's animating. Interesting.
yeah.
So this happens. Let's see what happens when we remove the text. Oh, it's because we have a weird shimmer animation. Something happened with the class name. There we go. We got it to work.
So what
But
was
then
the
we
difference
also.
then?
That's a good question. I think right now it's because we're using WebKit animation duration instead of normal animation. But let's go ahead and remove these WebKit prefixes and see if this does anything.
They should be the same, especially in Chrome, right?
Yeah, it should be. And yeah, they are still the same.
So then what was
But
it?
as that is a good question. I think it might have been the background no
Do we have a
repeat,
typo
but
somewhere?
we have that.
We
Okay,
have a
we have the two. Wait. Let's get this moving. Let's get this working properly, and then we go compare.
we had a background no repeat
Ah,
as well. Oh, what happened? It's a little bit cut off on my end, so I don't see the whole thing. Is there something towards the end
oh,
of
you
that?
can't see it? Yeah, so what's giving us the problem, I just reproduced it, is this important tag.
Got it.
Yeah, so it seems like if we're adding background image as important, that's giving us some problems, which is very strange.
Well,
So it looks, huh?
weren't we doing important somewhere else? It was just the shimmer block.
Yeah, so it looks like if we have already a color for a background div,
Sure.
and then we do important on it, it looks like it's actually going to misalign the CSS transitions, which is strange.
That's
So I don't know how
weird.
to fix that actually. But I guess an easy way to do that is we could just set the background of our image to the same color as before,
Yeah.
or just actually no background at all.
That
Maybe
looks
do,
weird for some reason. There
yeah,
you go.
there we go. That works a little better. Because yeah, if we were to actually get rid of this image class and just make it an image instead of a div, I think this would actually make much more sense. We wouldn't have this problem. So I'm going to go ahead and do just that. Turn this div into an image, set the class name to shimmer like before. Image. And then for some reason we have this weird border here. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Border 0, just none. Yeah, so it looks like that.
I don't think I like it with the border. That looks pretty weird.
I'll get rid of that border. What is that border? That's very strange. Border none. Is that maybe an outline? Any idea what that is?
It didn't go away when you did border none.
Yeah, it didn't go away.
That is, it's a border from somewhere.
Maybe an outline?
Yeah, but you don't even have an outline anywhere.
Yes, let's go ahead and
Wait,
see.
no. You set a border on the. Is it coming from the card on line 3?
It shouldn't. Yeah, it's still there. So if we do a border, oh, I think what it is it is the image does not exist, basically source. So if you don't have an image there, it probably does that default because there's not actually any here. So I think what we should do is maybe do like a source is equal to nothing.
Yeah, but then it's gonna have a undefined image. But yeah, I get the idea.
Yeah, so maybe we will just change this back to a div then. Just
Yeah,
for
you'll just have to do like a conditional statement in React to replace it with an image or use a CSS background, right?
yeah. So let's just go ahead and make this the div for now. Perfect. So now we just have this div. So we got some fancy looking loading screens. And then so if we want to transition, well, now that we had this done, and after our little error right there, if we want to transition from text to actual content, we can set that up pretty easily with React. So everything we've done before, as you can see, is just all CSS. But now we'll be switching to some React specific stuff. So let's go ahead and set this as a prop. So we'll do loading equals false. We'll just go ahead and set these for all of them. Actually, let's do loading is true. We want to start with loading.
And then you can change it based on a timer, like a set timeout.
That's one option. We can go ahead and do that. But first, let's just get the code set up for us in order to be able to change it. So we have our prop right here of loading. And then so when this prop is true, we basically just want to add the class name of shimmer to it. So this is probably not the best way to write this code, but we'll just do loading is true. We'll add in shimmer. And if it's not, we'll just add an empty text string. So basically set in a conditional for adding the text in class name here. And we'll go ahead and replace that for everything else. And I think we also,
Just sending a tweet that we're still live.
Cool.
And plugging out a photo.
Yeah, no, I'm also forgetting that we had a class name for the div up here as well. So we need to get a little bit more complicated here. We'll just do image, and then we'll add in the conditional within the string. Boom. So now, if we go back to our React Dev Tools, assuming everything's working great, we could actually go ahead and change the props in the browser. So we'll click on this one card, and let's make loading false. Boom. You'll see that now transitioned properly. But we need to actually have maybe a background for background green. We're running into this problem again. The image. Anyway.
It's all right. We don't have an image.
Yeah, no image. We'll live without the image now.
We get the idea.
But yeah, so now you can see that you can control these with the props. So in the browser, easy way to see it is just loading false and it switches. But you had a nice idea of setting it with a timer. So I'm going to go ahead and just change this to one of the class components.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for...
You don't want to use a hook?
No, I'm not too well versed in hooks these days, so I prefer not to embarrass myself online anymore.
That's all right. From what I'm told, the component way is not an outdated or wrong way. It's just a different way.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, which is nice for the speed of what JavaScript moves at. Everyone's always like, well, you're using this components or class components is so old, so out of date.
No, I don't get that at all. Other frameworks, though, when people make a change like that, they'll say, yeah, don't use that. That's obsolete. That's like saying that you still use Objective-C or something and not Swift.
Yeah.
That's the kind of attitude on some of those other frameworks that people give. But React, they're pretty approachable and kind when it comes to the different ways.
Nice. So yeah, what we have here is we're just going to do a set timeout with 3,000 milliseconds. So after 3 seconds, we'll want to change these to loading is false. And then we're using component did mount. This is basically the lifecycle method in React that is called right when the DOM is initially rendered.
Set it to 5 seconds. No?
Sure. But before we do that, we need to do a little bit more. We need to set up our state, because we're going to want to actually set a state variable, which will then trigger the rest of the DOM to re-render. This.state is loaded is false. And then when this timeout executes, we'll do this.state or this.set state. And loaded, we'll do loading, not loaded, is true. And then we'll use the arrow function to create the correct this. Components. And then also right now, these loading variables are all, loading prop variables are all set to true.
Yep.
So we need to actually set them to the state variable. So we're going to go ahead and just destructure loading. So we're going to get loading from this.state. And then we'll go ahead and place this
I don't know
instead of
why
all
I
of our.
didn't think that you could do that. It makes sense, but for whatever reason, I didn't think you could just put a constant variable in your render function like that.
Why
Spaz.
not?
I don't know. I'm just spazzing out. For some reason I could have sworn that you couldn't do that, but I guess it works.
Yeah, I mean, you could just do
Yeah.
this dot state dot loading,
Yeah.
but JavaScript is all about making your code look good instead of
Elegance.
worrying about anything else.
Sure.
And for some reason, this destructuring is just so beautiful. Something about it, just magical.
It is. Yes.
I'm kidding. All right, nice. So if we go ahead and look at this, let's go ahead and refresh. All right, Nick, count to 5.
One.
Oh, hold
That was a
on.
fast 5.
Yeah, it's not working properly. So we
Um.
have in. Oh yeah, so we want loading to start at true and then go to
Yeah.
false instead of the opposite. All right, you ready for the countdown? Go.
Hold on. Do you actually have? I already lost count.
Boom, 5 seconds.
There you go.
So it's loading. Nice. Shimmer. Pretend we're going to have an image pop up here. We're not going to, but oh well.
So you just simulated an HTTP request.
Basically, let's just go ahead and get rid of this image because it's going to look a little funky.
Yeah, you don't need that image.
But nice. Data's loading. Boom, loaded.
It's pretty awesome. And that adds like 1,000,000% better user experience to your applications. Because then
Yeah.
I mean, you could put the spinner up there, right? But that's kind of a drag. People don't associate that with positive things.
Yeah, because even if you are going to have a spinner, you're not going to have these card outlines anyway. You're just going to have a circle in here.
Yeah,
And this is nice.
it is.
I got a dog fucking howling. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, sure.
Ziggy. Let's show the show. Good old Ziggy.
Ziggy.
Mwah. All right. So that's it for today, right?
Yeah, I think we accomplished everything that we had set out to. Are we going to be putting this on YouTube? Should I put the YouTube link?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so this, if you're just tuning in, you can find it on YouTube. I just shared the link in the chat. I also shared your personal website in case people want to get you for some freelance jobs since you are for hire. Or I don't know if you're for hire right now, what your availability is. But
not too much right now, but definitely in the upcoming weeks we'll have some time for some projects.
If anyone's seen the past few streams on user experience, I mean, you want an attractive looking application, Dylan's your guy. This guy's an artisan, right? A master.
Sure, I'll let you say the compliments instead of myself.
Yeah, I'm
about
gonna
myself.
just roast you with all these compliments, right?
Yeah.
No, this
so thank you for that. And then also we should give a thanks to this code pen and then Keon Lobby. Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing his name for the implementation hints on this that we still managed to butcher even when pretty much copy and pasting most of it. So I'll go ahead and maybe send you this code pen link after the show. And then actually you just type in Facebook Shimmer Effect code pen and it should be right up here, and go ahead and paste that in the description or something so people can see the
let me grab that real quick. Facebook Shimmer Effect,
Facebook Shimmer code pen.
Code pen. All right, I got it. I am going to copy it and I'm going to drop it in.
Nice.
So I just dropped in the code pen. Again, that has some example code for what we did, except for we did it in React rather than just vanilla JavaScript, right?
Yeah, but it's pretty much the same thing up until the switching of like turning it on and off. Yeah. You just want to get the effect going. It's going to work fine. It's just when it comes to controlling it, you would implement that differently.
Sweet. So what are you thinking about doing on the next stream?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
All right. Well, I mean, let's we'll talk offline, I think, and we'll come up with another very slick UI thing. I saw on your Twitter that you were cooking up something where you can see two different maps side by side, and you could do like a slider effect to show differences.
Yeah, let's
That
go ahead and pull that up.
that was pretty dope.
Yes,
Oh,
it's this thing. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. We'd actually talk about doing this because this doesn't actually apply just to maps. This can be any type
yeah,
of comparison. But we basically have the slider effect that you
yeah,
could drag to basically reveal or hide one element on top of another element.
yeah,
And all this is really just a div that we have on top of another div that have the same height, width, position, and stuff, so they're exactly on top of each other. And then just changing the width of one of these divs.
I think it's particularly impressive because it's a map and it's got the pan and zoom functionality versus just an image. I imagine an
Yeah,
image would be easier, although I would still love to know how to do it with just a regular image to like do kind of like a grayscale kind of scroll of the same image. You know what I'm
yeah,
talking
we
about?
definitely go over that. I think that's a good idea for maybe next time, but no guarantees
No
because
guarantees.
I
All
did run
right.
into some bugs implementing this, and I
All
don't know if I
right.
want to be struggling publicly again, like we always tend to do
It's all
on this
good.
stream.
The end result
Yeah,
is what matters,
that's true.
and how elegant it is in the end. And I think the code that you did today was pretty elegant.
Well, thank you, and thank you to the guy who helped us implement that from the code pen.
Yeah, so let me switch it over to just our faces, and we'll just close it out. So again, live on Twitch. We've done this. This is the third time with Dylan. There's no true cadence on the Twitch channel for now. If you follow the channel, I dropped a link in the chat. If you follow it, you should get a notification when we're live. That's generally a little easier for the temporary. Um, I know that when I'm sitting around doing nothing and I see a Twitch notification come in, I sometimes tune in. But like Dylan said, Dylan gave us permission to put this on YouTube after. I think it was good. So I think a lot of people will be pretty pleased with it. What do you think, man? Any
Sounds good to me.
final words while we're live?
Ziggy says bye too. He's now joining me in this room. He's
Is
getting a little bored.
So is the dog named after what is it? Quantum Leap? Is that the show? Where the guys isn't there a guy's named Ziggy?
I have no idea, man.
I don't
I mean,
know.
there's the musician Ziggy Marley, but I think
All
it's
right.
just
I think I just
cute name.
I don't know the accuracy. I think I was watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia and they kept referencing that name. I don't know the story behind it.
Neither do I.
Anyways, all right, let me throw up this the final screen and then we're good.
All right.